You ready?
Who this?
Who dis? Who dis? All right, let me go live on Facebook. That takes a minute. Who dis? All right. So let me put a quick. So what's up, dude? It's going live. It's like 2 seconds away from being live, and then we can play ball. We can play, as you like to say, tennis. We're live online. Good. All right, bro. So to the magical world out here, everybody going down. Everybody knows that we created this video cast that I'm doing several times a week, actually, and I'm doing it with some friends of mine in the industry that I want people to hear from. It's a platform for all of us to talk business, talk shop. It's not a platform to talk politics, not a platform for any of that. We don't want to deal with that right now. What we want to deal with is the day-to-day actions, the challenges that we're all facing as entrepreneurs, and what we're doing to progress. And that's the whole idea. So today, I've got RJ Pepino on the line. RJ is a personal friend of mine. I've worked with him personally as well. And he and I have spent a lot of time together in the recent, I'd say 6-7 months, alongside his partner, David Peyerchin out of Columbus. RJ he's co-owner of Columbus Turnkey. And I'm going to turn it over to him. But again, this is what it's all about. So all the entrepreneurs that are going to start clicking onto this and start watching this live feed, we always upload them. So they'll be uploaded to Facebook at a later date. They'll also be on our YouTube channel. But the idea is to keep you moving. That's the idea. This is raw, real, open, transparent talk. I would shut up and pay attention. You might just learn something. So RJ, tell the world, who are you? What do you do, my man?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Anytime.
My dog just enters the.
Hey, bro, I'm sure my kids.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here. Grateful to be still be able to operate as a company. You know, there's a lot of companies out there that are out of business or are on pause. So there's a lot of things to be grateful for. I'm a real estate company based out of Columbus, Ohio, alongside my business partner, Dave Peyerchin. We're a buy and hold company, and buy and hold residential real estate, and we're mainly focused in the Columbus, Ohio market. So thanks for having me on. And I was actually, when you called earlier, I was actually out in the field a little bit, looking at some rehabs that we just got done and are on the market. So
we're gonna touch upon that as well, because you're kind of a unicorn in the industry right now. So what I mean by that is RJ is an owner operator. He's got staff. They do 200 rehabs a year. My point is, this man personally went back into the field to learn things that he needed to learn, like project management, construction management, crews. That says something, you know, as an entrepreneur, to take, you know, that wasn't one of his core strengths. You know, and for a lot of investors, that's not a core strength. But the reality was, he was willing to take on that challenge head on, and he did, and very successfully did. And I'm actually very proud of him for doing that, because it's not easy to be able to run a company and have all these things to deal with, and then say, well, I gotta kind of put that a little bit on my partner Dave, and I got to go this route. But the idea was the light at the end of the tunnel, right? That's a day-to-day challenge. In a bad or good economy, it doesn't matter. Those are day-to-day challenges as a real estate investor. If you choose to rehab or hotel, any of those things, even a rental, small rental rehabs, right? You have to know certain processes to get through that. And RJ took that challenge on personally, and I worked with him personally, and he's done very well. So let me ask you this. The volume that you did, let's say 2019, is it going to be challenging to achieve the same amount of volume in 2020, even though we're going through what we're going through now? Do you still feel like maybe there's a couple of hiccups here for you guys, but you're still full steam ahead? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think so. You know, our model has changed from last year and this year, and we're focusing on acquiring more assets for ourselves rather than selling them. You know, we looked at the end of the day last year, we looked at a bunch of flips that we had done, and then some of the ones that we should have kept. And we made a conscious decision to, you know, not do the turnkey model and rehab properties to keep in our portfolio, because that's, you know, how we see it is that, you know, if we're going to rehab something and put all that risk out there, we might as well be doing it for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, you know, now there's an opportunity to basically have, you know, more rentals for ourselves. The sellers that we've been talking to are needing our services right now because they're, you know, they've probably lost their jobs. A lot of them are without income. And, you know, our company can come in and give them payment relief, pay all cash and stuff like that. So we're looking at it from a standpoint of how many houses can we keep in our portfolio versus how many houses can we flip. If we're going to do a flip, it's not going to be a big rehab. It's more or less going to be a splash type of rehab to put it back out on the market, because there's still demand in our market for the affordable housing, which is, you know, 150 to 250 sales price points. So we, you know, we're happy with that. And we're still seeing, you know, some really good opportunities come across our desk. And we've been waiting for an opportunity like this, you know, to have a slowdown, I guess, in the market.
See, and I think a lot of listeners right now that are listening, they don't understand what that means, right? Because right now, a lot of them might be hurting. A lot of them weren't set up. A lot of them haven't prepared. A lot of them don't have the experience, right? So the reality is, what do you say to those listeners right now, those investors who are sitting there freaking out? Besides the fact is get off your ass and do something and grind, because remember, this show is about people that are doing it. RJ was working this morning. He's going to do this show with me, and then he's going to go back and continue working. He's not trying to put out fires. He's actually taking step-by-step progress because he still has properties. He still has marketing going on. He still has deals on the table, and his partner Dave as well. So that the reality is they haven't stopped, and that's the motivating factor. That's what the inspiration is all about. How is it that RJ and Dave were able to get to a point where they were waiting for this market, right? When so many people are like, I don't know what I'm going to do. What is that, you think? What sets you guys up where you were waiting for this market?
You know, a lot of it has to do with your operations and how you're set up in the beginning. Sometimes, you know, when you start your business, you become really good at the whole aspect of like flipping houses, but you're not really good at being a business owner.
Sure.
And we learned that lesson several years ago that, you know, we were really good at flipping houses, and we really needed to dive into our processes and get the right kind of people. And, you know, 17, 18, and 19, they were really good years for us because our market was hot. And we looked at what we had done and looked at our processes and got way more efficient. And we were already down this process of becoming more of a virtual company and becoming leaner, you know. We got caught up with, you know, the whole numbers game a little bit of how many flips are we really, you know, how many flips did we do? And, you know, when you're starting out, you kind of get really boastful, and you know, ego gets in the way.
It seems to be the norm, though. It's not just you. I think it seems to be the norm. Even in my business, I was like numbers. And then you start looking at bigger players, right? You start looking at people that you look up to and I look up to, and they always have to, at that time, years ago, they would remind you gross versus net. Don't lose sight, gross versus net. And you're like, yeah, I know. And then you go back to it and you're like, you know, it is all about the net now. It's about quality over quantity from this point on. And it has been for me for about 2 years and ongoing forever. And I think for you, that's what you're saying is now it's about a better product. Now it's about a better service. Now it's about helping the other person out to the best that you can. But more importantly, it's the product, right? It's got to be good. It's got to be good. You know, when we came in and we were helping, you know, work with the rehab side, that's all it really was. I was like, let's just make the product better. You bought it? Good. Let's enhance it. You know, how do we shift money around? How do we reallocate the same amount of money, the same budget, but make it look better? It's just a simple tweak of a thought process. But sometimes it just takes another objective, experienced set of eyes to say, have you considered? Did you see this? Have you ever seen that? Have you considered, you know, possibly just taking this risk and maybe seeing what that value might look like? And after a while, you're kind of like, all right, sometimes it's scary, man. Sometimes it's scary. So right now, How do you see your 2020 going? You know, Columbus is Columbus Turnkey is on a nice pace. Clearly, you have been for a very long time. I know you've isolated and you streamed up a lot of your systems of process. I know you called in a lot of help, which is fantastic. And to those listeners, that's what I want you to hear is we're at a certain level, RJ and I, but it doesn't mean we didn't get help all the way along. And it doesn't mean we're not done getting help all the way along, right? You know, I'm a guy that went from contracting, boarding up windows and changing out door locks to this microphone setup, right? We were laughing earlier about the DJ setup. I'm about to hit some music here, but that's evolution. That's evolving within the industry based on need. So for the 2020 outlook, where are you going? What does it look like for you guys as of today?
Yeah, so we're still continuing to be more efficient, and seeing how can we leverage our boots on the ground. We have a really good relationship with a property management team here that has arms in some other markets of Ohio. So we're looking at those markets to see if our model will work there, and I have a good feeling that it will. We're going to continue with holding onto assets more so than flipping. And then if we're going to flip a house, it has to be something that we can be in and out for in less than 60 days. So our model is, I think, is positioned right now to be successful for the rest of this year. With whatever happens with this thing, it's not going to stop us. The only thing that would stop us is if we're deemed non-essential. But we'll find a way. So that's the theme for us, is to keep it lean and be more efficient. Our model of buying is going to change just a little bit. We're going to be a little bit more conservative with our numbers.
Is that because of now, or is that just moving forward?
I think it's our ARVs aren't necessarily the same as they were a month ago or 2 months ago. So we're just being a little bit more conservative. So if the house is worth 100, we're going to underwrite it at 10 to 15% below that, just to be on the safe side.
Fair enough. I like that.
We have a rent to own and land contract model. And our company is all about low maintenance cash flow streams.
Can you elaborate on that for those listeners?
Sure. So what that means is that, the normal rental model is renting it to an open market renter. And it's a different mentality than somebody that we like to put in our homes that have the ownership mentality. And so we do rent to own for 2 to 3 years. And they're incentivized to make their payments on time and to handle the day-to-day maintenance, because it's we're looking for, at the end of the day, we're looking for homeowners that want to be homeowners, right? Not just a tenant that just wants to rent. And we've done both models, and we feel that in our opinion, that model of rent to own and land contract, you're just not going to have so much maintenance to deal with, as much of maintenance as you would on a normal renter. So we still do both, but we have more of a focus on that going forward here.
Okay. That's outstanding, man. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you're able to, and I'm a big advocate for this. I say this all the time because we do it as well as at our company, is you've been able to master a niche, right? You've stayed in your lane for a number of years and you become very well versed at that lane, right? Everybody does. And then you want to sit there and go, well, should I deviate into maybe multi-unit or land, right? What do you recommend to an intermediate investor? They're not doing your level yet. They're not even in the hundreds, but they may do 50 a year, which is still really good, right? Let's just say they're a smaller operation than you. What's your advice to them in terms of jumping ship from what they know within the industry? For example, I stayed in single family, and then I went to before, and I did hundreds of that before I ever considered multi. I wanted to really focus in because I always knew I could fall back on that, right? That's the idea. So what was your recommendation to an intermediate guy doing 50 to 70 maybe a year, and they really want to explode this thing and take advantage of the market like everybody says, but we'll see how many actually do, right? Big difference in talking shit. But the reality is, what do you recommend to those guys that are right in the middle saying, I see it, I'm scared to take the jump? Do they jump or do they not jump?
Well, I think you're asking if they jump to maybe something new, right?
Correct.
Like, you know,
So
and
they leave what got them to 50. So if they did 50 singles or the rentals or apartment complexes, whatever you want to call it, and now
Mhm.
they want to take advantage of something else because they see those deals coming across their desk. What's your advice to those guys?
Yeah, I think, you know, my opinion personally is you got to get really good at what you're doing first before you jump into something new. Um, you know, you got to get better,
Mhm.
and there's always opportunity to get better, before you can get into this new shiny object that is, you know, maybe multifamily and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And we,
I
you
agree.
know, you got to understand that we've also fallen into that trap. And
Mhm.
I think it was like, yeah, 2 years ago, we, you know, went to a couple local seminars about it. And you know, it definitely works. You have to be bought in 199%, can't half-ass it.
So
So
the real word there is you got to be committed.
you got
You're
to be
gonna
committed.
if you're gonna jump to this lane, you're all in on that lane.
Yeah, and then you know, there, I've seen people just go all in and be super successful in it, and then some people that are kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and that isn't going to go anywhere, right?
And I appreciate that. That's exactly what it is. This is what this is about, the transparency on that.
Yeah,
You know,
so we decided, like, okay, I think that's a great model, but right now our single family business needs to be humming on all cylinders,
mm,
and if we come across an opportunity like that,
mm,
um, it's better that we would leverage, you know, maybe an expert to get into that.
mm,
Um,
mm.
Meaning, you know, maybe we do a JV partnership with someone that knows the ins and outs of multifamily or storage unit, or, you know,
Sure.
all the other aspects of the business. Then you can actually learn it with somebody, and
Yeah.
see
The
success
risk, the
in it.
risk is there, but the comfort's there. When you have comfort, you're willing to really think through a process. When you feel like you're all alone in the ocean, man, you're just going to be treading water. There's no doubt, and you will get tired and you will sink, right?
Yeah.
So I agree with everything you're saying 100%. The way I've always looked at it, because I've had a lot of investors and contractors and people in the industry always saying that they want to go into something new. And I'm, as like you, I'm guilty of making that same mistake early on and just jumping around trying to do it all. You just can't, right? If you're not giving 100% to 100%, it's everything else falls by the wayside. One of the ways I always told people is very simply this: if you can build a model that's clearly sustainable where you're at in your home market, if you could pick that same model up and drop it off in Cincinnati, drop it off in Atlanta, drop it off in LA, if and when you can do that, then you deviate and start looking at other options within the niches that our industry presents, because there's tons of options in our industry. It's amazing. So that goes back to what? Business. That goes back to what? Entrepreneurship. That goes back to what? Having a foundation with systems and processes that are automated. And I think what's happening to those intermediate guys that we were talking about, right, that are listening here, that are doing well for themselves, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing, keep going, don't stop. But if you want to take it to the next level, that's when you have to look at deep dive your business itself. Is it a model or is it a hobby, right? You and I have talked about this numerous times that,
Mhm.
everybody gets into business and it's because you might be good at something that got you into it. And you've learned something. Maybe it was marketing, maybe it was sales, maybe you can sell a product, but you know nothing about the product. You don't even use the product, right? That's master salesmanship. But the reality is you need everything. Like you said, firing all cylinders. You need a piece of marketing. You need business. You need structure. You need delegation. You need teammates. But more importantly, you have to have a product and a service that's real, right? And there's
Yeah.
got to be a need in the market for what you do. And that's where I think a lot of people get caught up like, oh, I never really, I don't think about it that big. And I laugh and I go, well, you're in business, right? You're buying deals. You're trying to help somebody get out of a jam, whatever that is their business and your business, but you're trying to help somebody to help yourself at the end of the day, because it's business. You're creating a win-win scenario. Then how do you expand on that? And I think a lot of investors, they realize their biggest shortcoming, as you said, is they don't really have a solid business. And
Mhm.
that's when you leverage people that know business to say, hey, it doesn't matter what business you're in, you don't have a business.
Yeah, you have a hobby.
Yeah.
And you know, that was a question that we had when we got consulting to look at our processes and our structure. Was that how can we get better? You know, before we start something new and before we go into this new thing, how can we get better with what we currently have? And it's a humbling thing to look at that, you know. And we're all entrepreneurs that want to drive, and take on the next challenge. And so to kind of look at what you have and stop and think, how can I get better with what I'm doing now before I jump on this? It's hard because you think that you can take on so much,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
The
Well, I
reality,
mean, you said it right there. Think about it.
you know?
You're basically telling the audience that you prepared, you've studied, you've leveraged, you've practiced. So when times like these happen, yeah, it's a hiccup. Sure, there's a hurdle, but it's not like this is completely foreign to you. You're like, oh my God, because you're not going to lose anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You might lose a little momentum, but at the end of the day, you're going to be fine. So at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. Is there's going to be people that just aren't going to survive this, and it's their own fault, right? I'm talking business. I'm not talking about personal life. I'm not being insensitive. This is a serious problem that we're having. People are dying. I'm very sensitive to that. But when it comes to business, if you're not able to thrive right now, it's because you never had a business in the first place. You need to look at the person in the mirror and man that up and own that. This is the time, in my opinion, to be on the offensive, right? You're not playing defense right now. Right, you've got to be completely tactical. You got to be completely on the offensive. Would you agree?
Yeah,
This is
absolutely.
the time to start looking at everything, every angle possible, and reaching to your sources. And here's something I saw this morning. A guy posted about burning bridges. I think that's the worst thing you can ever do in business is burn bridges. Even if you don't agree with somebody, right? You guys can have your own personal powwow. Keep it off Facebook. Keep it off social media, and don't let other people know about it. Just keep it as personal as possible. But at the end of the day, there are bridges I do believe you should burn. And the bridges you should burn are the ones that never had a foundation to begin with, right? That's actually a personal lesson learned when you look at that and say, well, I probably shouldn't even done business with this guy. I saw this coming. That's my fault. But at the end of the day, two adults have a disagreement in business, leave it alone, deal with it personally, get it on paper, get it on the table and move on, because this is the time you need to go back to some of those bridges, right? And I am a prime example of that. I go back to some of the bridges that I burned in the past, and believe it or not, maybe they weren't as burned as I thought they were. Maybe my perception was wrong on that, because some of the people that I'm reaching out to now, I have no problem taking my call. And I'm grateful for that, because what I have to do is the same thing anybody else has to do. We leverage now. How can I help you? How can you help me? How can we get through this together, right? And that's what this is all about. I had a post out the other day about risk share. And that's basically about talking to your customer base, talking about your clients and your partners and your students, saying, listen, we're all in the risk share right now, right? I'm no better than you are. You know, I was talking to Medley the other day and I said, dude, everybody's at zeros right now. People don't realize we're all 0-0. Everybody. I don't care if you call yourself a guru, a master, an expert, the best. Fine, that's your words. But we're all at zero, right? And this is a chance now where the game just got even. I don't know if people see that in business. It's a game. And right now it's 0-0 for everybody. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you still have thousands coming in a month. That's great. Good for you. I'm glad. I'm really glad. But it's still really 0-0. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah, to an extent, yeah. Like you're saying, like the playing field's kind of evened out.
Mm-hmm.
All this happening,
Mm-hmm.
and we've seen in our market, we've seen, you know, a lot of the wholesalers have some problems right now, moving their deals, and some operators are
You're saying
having
in your market?
in my market, and some operators are having trouble buying deals because the hard money lending has kind of, died.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, some of them are out of business right now, and it's sad to see that, So, um, it all comes down to how I see it. It comes down to like how well are you operating?
Mm-hmm.
All your
Mm-hmm.
processes. Have you been keeping it lean? And those are the ones that are going to survive. The proactive ones of reaching out to their private lenders, reaching out to their residents in their homes, working out payment plans. That's all the stuff that we've done. Calling back over.
Talk about that if you don't mind. What's happening with your rentals? How's that coming in? How's rent looking for April?
So we're at as of this morning, we're at 60%.
Okay.
60%.
Okay. I mean, I
And
see what I've been seeing, what I've been
seen,
hearing is 60 to 80. So I guess that's average right now for you guys.
but at the end of the day, a lot of them have reached out. They're not
Mm-hmm.
staying, and they've been affected, and so we're doing a lot of payment plans, which is good. And I want to see that. It's the 10th, and I think I see that improving because a lot of them have reached out, and we're calling them forbearance agreements in our market.
Mm-hmm.
They're just payment plans.
Okay.
But we're making them earn it, so they have to prove that they had hardship.
Understood. Understood.
So that's kind of where we're at right now. And
Well, let me ask you
what
this.
what
Remember,
we've
this is
done.
raw. Is that thinking with your head or thinking with your heart that you're working with your tenants, if you will? And the reason why I'm asking is because like you see some of our peers who are like, cutthroat. I'm getting paid no matter what.
Yeah.
Is that the right strategy? How do you feel about that?
No, it's not the right strategy to be. It's our mentors when we started doing this always had the fair and firm approach.
Sure.
And be fair with them. At the end of the day, they're just human beings, just like you and I.
Sure.
And they have gone through hardship. Everybody has. But you got to level with them and say, look, it's, at the end of the day, it's still business. That was our letter to our residents, is that, we understand that you may have been affected by this. We all have. And we're here to help you get through this. If you look at the unemployment stimulus package out there, it's on steroids. People can basically sign up and make 45 to 50 grand a year. So, they're going to get through this. They just needed to know that we're here for them and we can help them through that. So that's what we did. And we had a really good response. And I foresee that, we're at 60% now, but at the end of this, in a week or so, we'll be close to, 100% collected.
Awesome. That's awesome. See, the way I look at
full of it, it might be full of the, the full rent amount, but at least, 50% of that.
Oh, I understand what you're saying. You're going to have 100% of payments coming in at different payment plans. But that's my point, is from a business standpoint, I think logically that I'd rather have some money coming in than no money coming in. Because at the end of the day, we got bills to pay, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is where you got the risk share proposition here, right? Listen, I got to pay bills just like you got to pay bills, but I still have a job and you don't. So let's work on that. I agree that you should. A lot of our peers don't. That's their business. But I don't agree with that. And I'm not afraid to say that. I think at the end of the day, this is catastrophic, and everybody needs to chip in at some level. And I'm not saying give people a free ride. Everybody knows me. I'm all about just being the way it is. You brought it on yourself. But there are some people that that are in the restaurant business, that are in the bar business, that are in hospitality and hotels and travel, that they had no choice. Mm-hmm. Right? And most of those guys probably don't make a lot of money anyway. Mm-hmm. So in terms of a savings, you could easily say, oh, they should have savings. Everybody that says they should have had savings, the question is, do you have a fucking savings? Probably not, right? So let's go on that then. You see a lot of our friends and peers and other big shots in the industry. And I see something I call a dilemma between ego and compassion, ego versus compassion. Do you think a lot of these individuals, these investors that are out there that may have programs, that may have student spaces that are more aggressive, like the one saying, no, I'm collecting my rent regardless, we're not working with any of our tenants. Do you think that's for show? Do you think that's for their student base? Do you think that's to keep them feeling good? Or do you really think that's who they are? That's what I want to know. Is this social media at its finest? Or is it a marketing ploy, or is that legit?
I think their ego is getting in the way. And I think a lot of times it gets in the way, and I'm all about being confident, but there's definitely a clear distinction between having an ego problem and being confident, right?
Big time.
And maybe the ones that you're seeing do that just aren't as experienced, and they'll learn sooner than later. But I think it's an ego problem.
I don't think it's the right message, man. Now, I'm not the first. I'm not here to say I know all the answers, because I don't. Everybody here on Instagram, Facebook, I don't know anything about anything. I'm learning as I go. What I do know is what I do, rehabbing. Other than that, I'm not going to give anybody advice on investing. I'm not going to give anybody advice on where to put their money. I'm not going to give any of that, because I don't have the right to, and that's not my space to. And I do see a lot of people speaking out of space, right? And again, I do believe, I agree with you there. I believe it's a lot of ego. What's one of the biggest things you're seeing in your market right now in terms of other investors? Are they starting to disappear?
Yeah, they are. Or have slowed down.
So at the end of the day, that's good for you.
They don't know, what tomorrow may bring. And so they're just, they're a little tentative.
Sure.
And for us, knowing how we can still operate how we do, because people still need housing, we've just made some pivots in how we buy, how we market, and how we rehab. So those are three things that we've done. And we did the smart thing by, last year we were already in this mode of getting leaner and getting better.
Yes.
Because before that we were like, all right, let's do 500 more, like let's just throw as much mud on the wall to see what's going to stick. But before we did that, we were looking at how much marketing spent, what we were putting out there, and looking at where our dollars are going and how much ROI we were getting. And then we also looked into our processes and people, and seeing what kind of return on our people we were getting too.
That's such a big deal. Such a big deal. Very important.
We've had to, unfortunately, actually it's unfortunate, but also fortunate, because, at the end of the day, the people that we had to cut, they just weren't operating to our standards, and we've learned before this, even if the coronavirus was here or not, the people that we had to let go just weren't performing.
Right.
You just can't have them in your business, and they're better off, somewhere else where they're going to thrive. So
I've always said an employee that quits did you a favor in the long run. However, as an entrepreneur, as an owner, as a supervisor, as a human being, you should look at yourself and wonder why. I'm not saying be savage and say, oh, good, let them go. There's a reason they left. I'd look back at yourself and say, did I do everything I needed to do? Am I part to blame for this? Did I not hear? Was I not listening? All right. And what I always say, there's three things that every owner should do, right? When you want to terminate an employee, you should look at yourself first before you terminate that employee and say, did I train them and give them every resource possible for success, right? Did I keep an open door for them to give me criticism, critique it, and bring out obviously more options and opinions to make it maybe a value add? And did I let them fly? Did I let them go out there and do their thing? If you can honestly say all three of those and it's not working out, it's not working out.
Yeah.
But if you can only say two of those three, you owe it to that employee to get that other third one done. Give them the chance, because turnover is expensive and it's time consuming. And for those entrepreneurs who don't have employees or maybe one, let me tell you something. When you start spending all your time trying to hire and interview and terminate, and then you've got unemployment, and then you owe me this money, you spend so much time and energy on this negative bubble, and you're not able to efficiently run your job. You're not efficiently able to do your job and run your company and work with the other employees, because what you're really doing is you're dealing with this problem when all these employees still need you, right? And again, this is what you signed up for, right? This is what we signed up for. So it's not about whining and bitching about it. It's the reality of it. There's a lot to running a business than just, oh, look at me on social media. I got another deal. Would you say?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So give me 2020, 2021. What's the number one change you're making so that when January 1st comes around, 2021, you're firing on all cylinders? What's that one change because of the economy? One.
Creative financing.
Creative financing, please.
Creative
dig
financing.
into that.
So from on the front end, acquiring our deals creatively, where we can put small amounts of cash to acquire a house, whether it's subject to taking over payments or that's what it is. So you put $5,000-$10,000 down, and you can control equity, and then on the back end, when you're selling them, you can sell them on terms as well.
Okay.
And that's going to allow us to acquire more homes, especially right now that people are hurting. And and we've done that before. Dave Perichin's out there on the acquisitions team, and he's really, really good at negotiations.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
And, so he's killing it, and so
awesome.
he's very good at that model, and the whole acquisitions team is gonna just make a small pivot to be able to acquire more deals creatively. And then on the back end, I'm working with our dispo team, doing stuff rent to own, creating land contract notes and stuff like that. So that's the big pivot for us, and that's the change. And I think that it's now that the market is just kind of in this weird moment where it's kind of died down a little bit. It's people are saying that it's the recession. I just think it's gonna be this time where there's a little bit of a pause, and it's not going to be as hot as it was, 3 or 4 months ago. And this strategy is going to allow us to serve the community better, because there's a lot of people right now that can't make their mortgage payments, and they're going to be, we're going to create a lot more win-win solutions when we can acquire creatively and also sell creatively, because there's probably stuff happening to people and their credit's dinged up, their late pays and stuff like that, and the bank financing that's out there. Yes, it's still out there, but it's not like it was last month, 2 months ago, 2 weeks ago.
Fantastic, man. Creative financing. Remember that. That is excellent. So let's end this on a positive note. Last time I was at your house, we talked about opening the Pepino patio. When is that going to be open for business? Table talk at the Pepino patio. It's perfect, bro.
We actually cleaned the patio, man. Power washed it, got all the gunk off.
Dude, I'm telling you, put a little koi pond back there, fire.
I know.
I got you thinking.
It's gonna make a return here, especially now that the weather's breaking and it's a lot cleaner.
Good stuff, man.
You'll have to do a live,
Oh, 100%. I'll bring it over there. We'll do a live from the Pepino patio. So you're raising capital. You and Dave are heavily raising capital. You're going at this full speed. For the investors that have money that they want to deploy, this is a trusted team out of Columbus. How do they get a hold of you guys?
They can go and get on our website, sellhousecolumbus.com. They can also call us. Our number's on the website. You can certainly find us on Facebook. My Instagram handle is RJ Pepino. Dave's is the real Dave P.
The real Dave P. Not the fake guys, the real.
And then we're on Facebook. So just look us up, RJ Pepino.
Outstanding.
And Dave Payerchin.
Outstanding.
You can definitely connect with us on our website, sellhousecolumbus.com.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you taking the time. I know that you got work to do, because that's what we do. We work. I got work to do as soon as I'm done here. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in on this one. I've got another one on Monday. I got Brian Mingham. Brian Mingham's a heavy player with the Hard Money Lender Boys. He's good with all of that, and he runs a massive operation. I actually knew Brian from back in the property preservation days. I'm talking over a decade ago. And Brian now runs a company that actually provides draw management services to hard money lenders, which is phenomenal. So he and I have a lot in common. So Monday, we're going to have him. Wednesday, we're going to have Billy Alvaro. And Friday, we're going to have our local guy here, Ryan Smith, the REO guy here in Chicago. So stay tuned. We're going to keep doing this. I want to keep doing this long after this quarantine, because I think it's important for entrepreneurs to just have a little bit of a real talk. It's not about, it's definitely not the same thing that you're already used to. So absolutely stay tuned. See us on Monday. We'll be live at noon again. This one's a little early because, my boy had things to do. So we have to accommodate the guests, right? So if you want to reach out to us, to rehabdepot.com, just so you know, we've changed our game as well. We are officially 100% virtual now. We have 3 investor packages. Whatever you need, you just reach out, go online at rehabdepot.com, pick your package. It's all online, continue learning, and you get access to me. So at the end of the day, guys, I had a good time. Thanks, RJ. Tell Lindy I said hi.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
All right, man. Have a great day, brother.
You too.
Bye.